Ken Field. Welcome to Brokers and Brews. Ken, you're not a broker, but damn, it's good to have you here, buddy.
Good to be here, man. Thanks for the invite. It's gonna be a pleasure.
Before we get into it, I hope you brought something. I don't know if what I brought constitutes as a brew, so I'm going first.
Hey, what'd you bring?
I went Angry Orchard tonight, so little hard cider.
A little cider. We'll let it slide.
Yeah, I figured I got a gym guy here. I might as well make sure I don't go too hard, you know?
Yeah, what, were you trying to say I'm soft?
No, I just didn't want to show you up, that's all.
I got you. Well, I kept it simple. I went a little two-hearted.
Nice.
And I'm going to show off my sweet opener.
Whoa, look at that thing.
Yeah, this is a nice gift from Miss Christy Jewell.
Okay, because I was afraid that we were going to go right into like who you are, and you were going to tell me about living in the UP, and that you like rip that thing off of a doe or a buck, or I don't know how that stuff works, dude. I'm not a hunter, but
right.
So speaking of which, you know, who's Ken Field? First of all, obviously, for those that don't know, Root Performance Systems, and we'll talk a lot about that and how business is impacted right now. But, you know, who's Ken? How'd you get here? You know, where'd you come from? Whatever you want to tell us, it's open book and totally up to you, man.
Man, got a good thing you're catching me late at night here, so I don't go on and on, right? Ken Field, Root Performance Systems. It's been labor of love for many, many years. Grew up in Marquette, Michigan, and played a little bit of hockey. Was able to travel around. Was good enough to play a bit in college and then coach professionally. Kind of bounced around with that, and always liked coaching. Always like the preparation side, and that kind of drew me back into the gym itself. Spent a lot of time down in Florida with IMG Academies, and a good friend of mine, Pete Bomarito, who runs Bomarito Performance Systems, and really kind of learned a lot from him and opened my eyes up to that world, and thought I'd take a crack at it myself. So I had a lot of success, and when I came back to Michigan, you know, trial and error and lots of different looks along the way, but ultimately settled into Root Performance Systems, and we do a lot of things for everything from kind of starting with athletes, but then also integrating with adults, kids, you name it. So whether it be simple strength conditioning, fat loss, lifestyle choices, things of that nature, to performance-based things like speed, power, strength, heart rate recovery, threshold training, things of that nature. So all over the place, and really enjoy it. Although right now it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and we're obviously going down that path here in a second, but I just realized, I mean, and you and I know each other like personally, and I guess you'll say professionally.
Mm-hmm.
When did you come back to Michigan? Like, I know that I've always known that you were in Florida and came back to Michigan, but when?
God, shortly after 9/11, so right in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right in that like fall winter 2001. Came back to Michigan, and it was at that time I was coaching hockey heavily prior to, and I had a successful skill development camp and program that I ran throughout the country, and I came back to Michigan after being coaching in Florida, which is a great opportunity and some great people down there. But I came back to Michigan, and probably pretty close to another decade, really stayed more directly in the hockey world, and then gradually started integrating more and more into some of the other pieces. I have a boxing background, and then the strength conditioning background as well. I started applying that more and more with my hockey athletes, and then that started branching out where football guys would contact me, or a lacrosse athlete, or whatever it might be. They would have success, do really well, just kept on pushing and going. And then, you know, sometimes parents would, you know, come up and ask, say, hey, you train adults. And, you know, and that's how the conversation kind of started with that, with, well, what are you currently doing? And a lot of it was more of the fitness base, where it's just kind of, well, I do a little of this and a little of that, and I kind of hope for the best. And from my world, that didn't really jive for me or make much sense. So we started talking more, and so I kind of had the epiphany of just being a former athlete was everything we did was, purpose driven, and rather than, you know, throwing a dart and hoping. So I thought, well, and then I started talking more to more people, and it sounded like that was kind of a commonality where it was just whatever the latest trend or, thing was, they wanted to go get a little sweat in, and that was great. But I think a lot of people were really primed or looking for more result driven
Sure.
approach, more of a game plan. And that's exactly what we do. So like when we're looking at an athlete, it's what are your goals? What are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? Where are you at? What's your timetable? And then we develop a plan and how to get there. It's no different for an adult, who's maybe not competing for a combine spot or for a trial position somewhere, but they have a goal, whether it be a race or they just want to look better, feel better,
Yeah.
and develop plan of action and go from there. So it's kind of
And that was
boring.
definitely how oh, I'm getting a little feedback. Um, that's definitely how I, obviously met you and started working out at
Right.
your facility was, I was at a big name gym, and said, it's cool. I'm probably in better shape than the average person, and I'm never going to be in the shape of like a supreme person, but I have a lot of room to grow.
Hmm.
And, you know, what can we do here? And so, we started together, and, it didn't take too long to start having some results. I mean, at first I said, you go, what do you want to do? And I go, I want to like lose weight and stuff. And I did. I was probably down to maybe 180 pounds, which was pretty light for me. And, you could see it, I mean, I had people asking me like if I was eating and stuff. I was like very thin in the face and thin, but that was
Right.
exactly what our goal was. So we accomplished it.
Right.
And then from there, I said, I don't really want this, and I enjoy lifting. I like to lift the actual weight. I like the, challenge.
Hmm.
To me, it's a more fun challenge than getting to a lower number. It's to get to a higher number, but clearly on a scale, you only want to get so high. And, and so here we are, and there's been some hiccups along the way,
Right.
on both sides, I'm sure, but from my side, um, different career moves and times, and things like
Hmm.
that. Being a real estate agent, you can't always get to the gym at an exact time unless it's like 5 in the morning.
Right. Be a
And
father,
so,
life,
yeah,
all those things kick in. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
but it's all worked out. And so, that kind of brings us almost right into like, well, where are we today? And and I should take a quick side note. We're doing this during the NFL draft. The Lions have selected. This tells you how much college football I watch.
There you go.
Akude, a cornerback.
Okay.
Um, Jeff
Was
Okudah. So
did Young go at number 2?
yeah,
All right. All right.
yep.
I'm
So
good with
all
that.
right, so here we are. So that kind of brings us right into like, your program, what you do.
Hmm.
We're sitting here today. Neither of our businesses are considered essential by our government. Neither
Right.
of us are allowed to go and do our normal work, but and each of us are allowed to do things virtually. Now,
Mhm.
um, I am supposed to only work from my home. Anything I can do from my home, I can do.
Right.
You might have certain, restrictions or less in the sense of you can probably go to your, uh, gym because it's
Right.
yours, but I cannot. I can't go to your gym. So,
Right.
what are you doing today? How's business look today for you, and how are you helping us, get through our workout?
And it's definitely a different time. Very different. It's a selfishly there's a nice piece. I try to be a positive guy and try to look half full. And the selfish side says, well, it's kind of nice to not have these early mornings and late nights, day after day after day, which is what the gym life tends to bring. But obviously, I miss everyone. I miss being in the gym and those pieces. So I'll give that up in a second. I'm excited to start back up. But the other positive side that's been nice is I think for me and I got to believe other people too. It forced you to step back and reassess different things. And as that relates to business, um, it gives me an opportunity to catch up on maybe some of the behind the scenes things that I don't always like to do, but
Hmm.
are essential and need to be done to operate the business. So working on some of those, trying to stay positive and looking at what's going to happen in the future, and then specifically trying to deliver and provide content to our clients, whether it be our adults, our athletes, whoever it might be, in a virtual setting, which is challenging because we don't run traditional classes. So it's not as simple as me just setting up a Zoom, format and saying, all right, guys, follow along for today's session. We don't want to operate that way. Everything's tailored a little bit. There are different rest rates, tempos that apply to different people, different movement patterns. There's injuries that we factor in and consider for various individuals. So trying to develop a program, and that's what we've ultimately done, whether it be for adults or our athletes. We have separate programs that try to take an all-encompassing approach to deliver to their goals of what they need to have happen during this time, so they can stay in shape and they aren't falling behind, etc. So it's forced us to get a little bit creative. Some people have access to weights and various equipment. Some people have a couple things, and some people they don't have anything, and so we have to try to factor that in. Um, Come up with simple things where if they don't have a weight, they can maybe use a backpack, fill that with some things, or some buckets or uh, other tools that can be converted into it, right? And there's a lot you can do, so it's been kind of fun to take that on as a challenge. I at least can say that now that it's done, right? And
Yeah.
written and all that. But there are definitely some stressful nights and days, um, lots and lots of hours of or lack of sleep trying to work on these things, and then put them together in a format that makes sense, that people can understand, because I'm not there able to coach it with them as much, so you have to really be detailed, um, taking video, editing the video, and putting that together. And that was kind of one of the cool parts of you know I guess this forced or mandated quarantine, is again trying to stay on the bright positive side. Is I've wanted to do some things in the digital world. I've wanted to take some of our programming, get some video going, force me to get some content out there, which is not exactly my normal comfort zone. As you know me, Joe, is I
Yep.
tend to I like a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun and we do our thing, but I tend to be kind of private, and it's forced me to get out there a little bit more and push it. I think the hockey player in me says, it's I like to be a little bit more behind the scenes, and uh, I like to put credit on the people who are putting in the work, and I just kind of steer the ship. So it's been a little bit strange trying to adapt to that and being on camera and delivering these online programs and virtual training. But
Can I imagine that it's actually a lot longer for you to develop a program like that? Because you spend a lot of time
yeah,
developing our normal programs, anyways. I mean, I'll come in sometimes and you're like exhausted, and I'm like, "What'd you do?" I've been developing the program, or tweaking the program or whatever.
right,
I mean, I know just talking to teachers. I mean, they're saying how it took one teacher 6 hours to put together a 30-minute assignment for her
right,
middle schoolers.
yeah,
How's that look for you?
hundred
From a
percent,
challenging standpoint.
100%. It's very difficult. It's I've gotten a little bit more of a flow of it now. Things come a little bit smoother and easier, but it's it's no secret. Anyone who knows me, I struggle from uh, this perfection, which it never is, right? It's
Yep.
never complete or perfect or whatever it might be. Um, Want to make sure I can deliver and please everybody, and I know that that's also impossible too. And but there's a lot of guessing. I'm thinking, okay, I think I've got it right when I think I have it all nailed down. Then I'll think of one of our clients or a few of them, thinking, well, if we do this, they're going to be missing out on this portion, or maybe they don't have this, or so I need to integrate something else, right? And ultimately, kind of make force me to kind of relax a little bit and say, all right, this is doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna work through this, and it's just gonna evolve and get better every time. And that's kind of what ends up happening anyway, right? It's we learn and you just keep making improvements. But so far, it's been really well received. People have been having a lot of success with it. It seems to be working really well. It's fun for me when I get feedback. Obviously, I have some athletes, some adults that send me their weekly workouts, and they're charting their numbers and giving me feedback, what they're able to accomplish, and how difficult this particular portion was, or whether and seeing them progress, right, and be able to get through a deeper piece of it. So stuff like that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge trying to deliver all the other extra pieces to date, for sure, more so than normal.
So now that you're doing it though, I
Mhm.
mean, like, how do you see it's probably hard to answer because we don't even know when you're going to be allowed to open and when you
Right.
do, what they're going to even mandate, let alone what you might personally want to do. But do you
Mhm.
see you now taking some of the time out of your day to do some of the video now that you've done it, now that you've
100%.
gotten more comfortable on camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. No, because I also don't want to lose that, right? It's like you start to get in a rhythm of it, in a groove, and like I said before, the blessing was I've always wanted to do these things. I've always wanted to start making some things digital. We have a lot of clients that travel, right? We have a lot of athletes, obviously, that are maybe here for the summer, in their off season, their training, but then they go report to their pro team, and they're traveling through the year, and obviously they have great resources available to them throughout that time, or our college athletes, same thing. But sometimes it can be nice, right, where they'll still hit me up and ask me questions on things. And it's nice to, rather than just be on the fly when they call, to say, all right, let me try to throw some quick little video together for you to explain something. It's nice, in theory, to have a database, right? And that's kind of what I'm building, um, for those people, or for my clients who are traveling overseas, and then they're in Sweden for a week, or they're in Tokyo, or they're wherever. Obviously those things are still restricted at this time, but down the road when that resumes, um, maybe that opens up a whole nother side of that market for us, for potentially virtual training, right, and online stuff. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm definitely going to continue to do it, or try to, right.
Yeah.
My schedule will be a little bit tighter once we're working at the gym again, and we're hands on with everybody. That takes its toll from an exhaustion standpoint, right? And there's only so much time in the day, but I think if it's structured properly, we can definitely continue to do that. I'd like to, for sure.
Yeah. And so yesterday or today, I watch a lot of CNBC during the day,
Mhm.
and I'm home because I think I've already said I can't go anywhere. So, um, I have it on even more than normal. And they were talking to the CEO or somebody at Lifetime, so they're a publicly traded company, and here we
Mhm.
are in Georgia and some other states that have already opened, and then a
Right,
few states that are opening,
right,
and of course we don't know what Michigan's doing yet, and they were asking him, what he thought about how he's going to operate the gym, and his take, and without maybe going on a political side of things, unless that's the direction you want to go. His take was, health is what is helping a lot of people. I mean, we talk about what's going on right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we don't want to be short-sighted or insensitive to anyone when we say it's like only hurting or killing, people with certain health, diseases and things like that.
right.
But that is also fairly true. I mean, there's possibly some other stuff that's happening after the fact to healthy people. But if we think about just recovery, health is a big thing, and one of the
For
big
sure.
concerns, of course, might be obesity or things like that. Do you see yourself almost as like in the future? I mean, you're even that much more critical to people as they understand maybe health is that much more important.
Um, I I haven't thought about it in that global sense, I suppose. But yeah, I mean that's a valid point, right? It's there's no doubt that the healthier we are, that whether it be um, through exercise, through what we fuel our body with, our nutrition, our sleep patterns, all those things, our mental health, right? Like all these exercises that we do or don't do, they have massive impact on us, right? Um, whether people get sick just in general, just whether it's a common cold, or whether it's COVID or flu, there's no preventing it, right? I mean, you can be the healthiest person on the planet, but if you're exposed, you're probably going to get sick now. But hopefully that maybe can be mitigated, right? The healthier you are, your immune system is able to try to fight that off. um, I would never say that I'm going to be the fountain of youth when it comes to this, right? But
Sure.
I do think that that's a valid point, right? That obviously, whether it's fighting heart disease, cancers, all those things, there's all kinds of evidence with the fitter you are, and the healthier the lifestyle you live, it's the better off you're going to be, right? The more resilient you'll be to fighting these diseases as they come. With that in mind, I think it's going to be interesting when things do open up. I think maybe we're in a nice spot, and again, I try to look at this from maybe a positive standpoint, is because there's pros and cons to it. Did I lose you?
Nope, we're good.
Sorry, I had a quick little. There we go.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
I tried to clear my screen for a second. The positive side is because we're a smaller, more boutique style gym, right? We're not a big box. What I think would concern me about some of the big box stuff and some of the challenges they're going to have is, and they have plenty of positives in their nature too, but it's I don't know, just the more they're going to have a lot more volume. There's a lot of people coming in and out. I think some people will. I'd like to think all people will really be mindful of others and be very respectful and trying to mitigate any type of contact. So if they're feeling sick, they won't show up. That's always the hope, right? And they're cleaning things and all that. What I like about our facility and our style and all of our clientele that come in is because we're boutique, because we're smaller. It's more of a community style, right? So I feel like, well, I mean, I don't just feel it; I know it just from all the people that we have. They care about it, So whether it's, I mean, pre-COVID, I've had plenty of people, offer to help do this or do that, or hey, you need some help cleaning, blah, and it's beyond, kind and nice, right? I try to shoo them away sometimes, and other times, I take them up on it. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that will obviously be heightened, when we return, and that's really my biggest thing is how do we keep everybody safe, right? Like I want to get back to the gym more than anybody, but it's not at any cost, right? I want to make sure that everyone's safe, is feeling safe, and I do feel like if people are feeling sick or run down or whatever it might be, because we encourage them. There's no benefit to training when you're in that state of when your body's in that state of shutdown or not doing well. So stay home, take a couple days off, come back in when you're feeling well, and we'll get back after it, right? So I think that'll be good, but that's probably one of the bigger things is just trying to figure out how we move forward, and mandate cleaning procedure without you know I don't want to shove it up anyone's ass, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, hey, yeah, I might have to shove some things, right? We want to keep things clean, we want to keep people safe. So but I feel confident people are going to respond to that. So
Yeah, I
I
think
went a little bit of a
maybe
tangent on that one, but
no, it's okay. I think that a new norm is not cleanliness, but just conscious hygienic or hygiene or
yeah.
whatever, because it's like one of those things, we kind of joked when this all started because the number one thing was wash your hands.
Mhm.
And it was like, well, I've been washing my hands. But I'll tell you what, I of course I wash my hands. But just because I blew my nose when I'm completely healthy didn't mean I washed my hands all the time, especially
Right.
if I'm at my own home. Maybe I'm getting ready to go to bed. I blow my nose, and the next thing I'm going to do is pull the covers over me. But
Mhm.
for a while, it's like, okay, I just blew my nose. Potentially, if I have something, I just put it all over the place, and my hands in particular, I'm going to go wash my hands.
Yeah.
So, I'm much more conscious of that. And yeah, I've always washed my hands, but I certainly do it 10 or 15 times more a day than I used to,
Right.
And same thing, I think, like you say at the gym, it's always been clean in at the big box gyms. There's always some sort of wipe around or whatever.
Right.
I don't even know how you're going to keep up with the amount of cleaning products that you're going to need to have. You might have to be making them or something, which you probably
I've been
can do
working
because
on
you're a
it.
big
Trust
guy.
me. I've been using that. That's the other thing I left out. I've been doing a lot of that stuff, trying to prepare for when we do reopen, trying to make sure that we are as stocked up as possible and things are readily accessible, but also out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's, I don't want people tripping on things or having to obstruct their training, but it's, yeah, it needs to happen, right? And making sure that people understand that trying to minimize shared equipment, when possible. Obviously, there's going to be certain things that are, but it's having those, cleaning supplies right there at the ready. Take 2 seconds and wipe it down, and you're good. You know what I mean? Even if you're still
Yeah.
transitioning back and forth. So I think there's gonna be some adjustments, but it's definitely doable, right? Uh,
What do you think is like, I think about for myself, like, if the governor were to call me and say, Joe, you're in real estate, I want to make you guys essential, but I need to make sure it's safe. What would you need to do? And I would think about, masks and limiting exposure by limiting time in a home, limiting the amount of people that can come to the home, no open houses. I have a lot of different ideas, but I think a lot of it just comes around, this concept of distancing. um, if you got that call
mm,
and they said, how can we safely open gyms? I don't know if you've even really thought that much about it. And forget a big box gym. The places like yourself,
mhm,
specifically you, like how do you safely open it to the best of your knowledge? I realize you don't know every single possibility of
right,
ways that people can get sick, but with what we do know, with general knowledge, how do you do
right.
that?
Well, I mean, some of this is going to be very basic, right? Like we're starting with posting signage everywhere. So there's signage all over the place. Some of that's already started. Some of that's going to continue. Uh, the soap, the hand sanitizers, the towels, and cleaning services. Um, all those things, right? Whether it be on the spot for clients to be able to do it, but also for myself, staff, and even outside companies to be able to come in and do thorough cleaning. Uh, as you know, and obviously becomes a financial decision too, trying to figure out how you can put all that together, right? So the majority of that bulk is going to fall obviously on me, and what we can try to make sure we're doing. But yeah, I think numbers is going to be one of the issues that I want to take a look at when it comes to the amount of people at one time, right?
Hmm.
That we don't normally have large groups anyway, which is helpful, right, with how we operate. But um, I know at our capacities, we would probably shut some of that down a little bit. We'd probably bring those numbers down, change up the amount of people that we could actually have at a different time. And that'll be somewhat driven by the types of programs we're running, right? Because we're a training facility rather than just like random fitness. I want to make sure that the training programs that are in place don't have people that are, you know, hugging one another, with, sharing multiple things. I want to give
Right.
them space, especially in the early days. I think obviously it's, because you want to be mindful of a second wave of anything coming through. Um, and obviously it makes us all think about not just this, but, future outbreaks or other viruses or other communicable diseases that, could be passed. Um, I'm not going to be paralyzed by it by any stretch. And I don't think our clients will, and I don't think the world's going to be, but we definitely have to be mindful. So I think the big thing is figuring out, we have our signage, which are just going to be constant reminders. Looking at stations for your towels and your disinfectants and all those things that are ready to go. Um, I think the more convenient we make it, the less likely it is that someone's going to ignore it, right? Um, and then obviously I'm there 100% of the time, so that, and it's I don't have too many off days, so um, I'm pretty confident that I'll be walking around and just like I am with coaching and watching people go, and um, I'll be sure to remind them, right? If I see something not being cleaned, or someone forgets, right? Something,
Right.
it's like, hey,
Well,
it's
I
part of
guess comes back to like this cliche or common, phrase that we're using, the new norm. You've
right?
always made sure to be on our ass to put our weights away, right?
Yep.
So now let's put your weights away and wipe them down, or
Mhm.
something like that, right? I mean, it's simple, and
Right.
nobody's going to complain. I mean, anyone who's
No.
going to complain needs to go on, because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how real or not real you think this is, if you think it's politically driven, if you think it's conspiracy theory, whatever you think it is, you're in a community now, and the
Mhm.
community thinks otherwise. Is the kind
Well,
of how I would
yeah.
see
I
it.
mean, like quite frankly, that's uh, is this PG or is this not PG?
Yeah, I mean, we're drinking, so I think it automatically is 21 and over, so you can say whatever the fuck you want to
Well, that
say.
concept is fucking nuts. All right.
Yeah,
So whether someone wants to believe it's political or not, okay, that's fine. I don't care. But the bottom line is obviously people are affected and people are dying, and
yeah,
and that's not. fictional. That's not uh, agenda based. That's a fact. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't foresee us having an issue with anything like that with people ignoring those mandates or rules or expectations. And if they do, then they can hit the door. They can go elsewhere. I just don't see that happening. I think people are pretty aware of this, and we've been fortunate. We have a great base of people that come and train, and they're good people. I mean, we have a lot of frontline workers right now. Doctors and nurses and people who are engaged in it right now, and it's uh, I can't imagine someone ignoring that mandate and then looking over at a doctor or nurse who is also training right alongside them, right? Who is just in the middle of this fight, for these last number of months, and then
Yeah.
ignore that, right? It's like
Yeah.
that won't
No,
happen. But yeah,
I would
I
say
agree.
probably agree, but you never know, right? But
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, here's the thing is, and I think you said this, and you and I know this, but obviously we're not here to talk to each other. We're trying to like talk in a way to let people know what's going on with the gym.
Hmm.
I look at it. Why did I care what goes on in the gym if I'm in real estate? Well, I look at it like if you're not working, your gym isn't operating, and so are hundreds or thousands of other ones. Then that means there's people not at work, which means you probably can't buy or sell a house. So you do impact me.
Right.
Similarly, if your clients are afraid to come to the gym, yeah, I might think the gym is a little bit more of a breathing ground, so to speak, for something than a house is. But the
Hmm.
fact of the matter is that when I take people into houses, we're in an enclosed space, we're close together normally, all this other stuff. So if people don't want to come to the gym, there's probably less people that want to go to houses. So I need your take, and I need other businesses' take on what's going on today and in the future, because it does tell me what's going on in real estate.
Right.
And on top of that, I just care about business. And you have definitely a certain community, and that community's kind of changed in the time that I've been there, in the
Hmm.
sense that I feel like there were a lot of younger athletes, and now there's a good mix of younger athletes, adults, and everybody in between.
Right.
And so I would guess that whatever the sentiment is of the gym is pretty easily transferable amongst everybody. You're not going to have any outliers, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
that was my, I guess, like add on my 2 cents to what you had to say. How do you think you create that? I mean, do you think it just happens? Like, how do you create a community? I mean, like, just
And
because people want to go to the gym, they don't. That
mhm.
doesn't. I mean, my wife has different goals than I have, but
Right.
we both like coming to you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
it's not just goals. Because some people are all about the games and other people are all about the losses. So
Right. Right. Right.
uh,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think. Well, I don't know if I can answer it fully, but it's I think, to be honest, I think what it really comes down to first and foremost when we talk about community is it's a it really comes down to sincerity. Um, and like is this person genuine or not? Does this person care about me or do they not? And I mean, maybe I have some detractors out there that would argue against it, but uh, it's I genuinely care about every single person that comes in. Right, I've got their back instantly, and I want to see them do well. And you have to build trust. It's uh, some people that can be immediate. Some people it takes some time. Different personalities, things of that nature. But I think that's where it really starts with, and that's where it always comes back to, right? Uh, and it also gives me a little leeway too, because I'm not exactly on my maybe the best person to be around at all times, right? In the gym as a coach, and whether I'm getting on somebody or frustrated with something, or I'm short or whatever could happen, right? I try not to be, but I'm far from perfect and definitely human, and I have my moments, right? So um, I think sincerity goes a long way, and that builds trust. Um, you got to this person's got to be genuine. I think that's where it really starts, and then you try to lead the way, right? And uh, lead by example through details. Sometimes some days are better than others. We all have challenges, and I tend to be an open guy and express different things, right? That whether I can relate to people. and what they might be going through. I've got a few stories myself, right? And um, I think that goes a long way, and I've had a great support group, back. So um, I think that's what a lot of it comes down to, Joe, is really sincerity, right? Whether it's, I don't know, people recognize that, and they give it back too. And that's what I'm so blessed for having, is whether it's guys like yourself, or like I could go on and on. I don't want to embarrass people by naming all their names, right? They're
Sure.
phenomenal. I've been very blessed with the amount of people, whether it's from our young athletes to the our adults. It's phenomenal. Even people who haven't been able to train with us for quite some time, right? Because they moved out of state or whatever. They still, my phone will beep and I'll get a text and they're like, "Hey, coach, how's it going?" And we're talking, and that's phenomenal, man. It's like it's probably the best part of what I do, like or what I get back. It's knowing that you made a connection with somebody. It's knowing that you uh, made an impact some way or another, trying to help them, trying to improve them, and help them get what they're looking for. That's it's so rewarding. I love it. So
Yeah. So people might not know this because this is pretty new series that I'm doing, but
mhm,
I don't really prep, whoever I'm talking to. I give you an idea, like, hey, I want to know a little bit about you. I want to know how COVID-19 is affecting your business, whatever. But we don't have like a Q&A that we've rehearsed or anything like that. So
no,
and I said I should start tagging the term like this is candid, not canned, or something like that, because that's the case. I want candid conversation.
right,
So I'm catching you a little bit maybe off guard here, but like going back to the gym, going back to what root performance is, um, I know that it's more expensive than joining a big box gym, right?
right,
But we also know in many ways it's not. So yes, like if all I looked at was how much is my credit card statement show up, then it's going to be more expensive at Root Performance. But if I also think about all the things that you get sold at a big box gym and the real reason that they're there versus the real reason that you're there, then I know that actually I pay significantly less. But it's not even just about money. And I'm a person who's in that industry. I get paid a lot of money for what I do, but it's because of the value that I bring.
right.
And I know the same is true for you, but like how do you break it down? I mean, if I was coming at you, like what's your script? You know what I mean? Like if I was coming at you about, your costs and why does it cost X dollars to be in the program or be in the
Mhm,
gym or whatever, why is it that it's more expensive to be in a 2 or 4 or 6,000 square feet? I don't know exactly how big the place is
right,
versus a joint that has pools and massage
sure,
therapists and all this other stuff.
right. Good question. Again, not scripted, right? But it's
Yeah.
and I wish I had a script to make my life much easier. But uh, no, it's a fair question, right? Economics are economics, but it's how much do you value your health, right? And it's how often are you going to come to the gym? If you're going to come once every couple months, probably shouldn't join, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to train somebody in true sense, and like train if that's what they're looking at. But if they're coming 2, 3, 4, or 5 days a week, right, and then they're paying a monthly membership fee, it breaks down, where they're paying a couple bucks a time, right? They'll spend more on coffee, or they'll spend more on uh, fast food, or whatever it might be on a given day, and it's that part. So it's where we value things, right? It's like you're a Starbucks guy, right?
Yep, you know it.
All right. So how much? What do you get at Starbucks?
So I normally stick to a basic coffee, which is still 281,
Okay.
for a large.
Right.
And it's funny that you asked this question because my wife also is a Starbucks, gal, and
Hmm.
she starts work at 6 a.m. So when she hits
Right.
Starbucks, you could argue it's a necessity.
Okay.
And we don't go daily, but we go enough. And then on the
Sure.
weekends, if we go, the boys get to have some treats. And so I would say Starbucks alone is for us a $60 to $70 a month thing, and that's not including the fact that I'm buying coffee and making it at home, you
Right.
know, and that's
Mhm.
not adding in some energy drinks and some other stuff.
Right.
So really, if we talk about coffee consumption, even my home, brew,
Mhm.
yeah, it's well over $100, and
Right.
I'm buying regular basic coffee. I'm not buying frappuccinos, mochachinos, or anything else. You
And
know,
and believe me, I'm not knocking it, right? I get it myself, and I have my own things I'll get as well. But it's
sure,
yeah, so I'm not knocking that, but I think like when we put things in perspective, right? Or um, if we're going out, we've all had our moments. We go out on a Friday or Saturday night, and maybe it's a Monday night. Depends, right? And what's going on the next day. Uh,
yep,
get a few drinks at a bar, maybe some ahi tuna or whatever it might be. I know you're a big fish guy,
love it.
right? But no, I mean that bill alone, is it gets in those three figures pretty quick. Um, so when you're looking at value, for a month, and if you're training on an average of 2 or 3 days a week, or more, I feel like the value is beyond there, right? Um, so that's part of it. But the big thing when you come back to it is, okay, how's the big box working out for you? Well, I've been there forever and I'm not seeing any results. Well, maybe you need to look at something, right? And oftentimes, I mean, it doesn't mean the big box, because maybe they have to look at themselves and say, what am I doing, right? If they're going a couple days a week, but they're half-assing it, or if they're going a couple days a week and their diet sucks, right? And then and everything else is out of whack, well, probably not going to have the greatest results anyway, right? Um, where we come in, I think a little bit more is uh, there's a value there, so they're paying a little bit more potentially for it, so that maybe puts a little added incentive there. But also they're getting an actual training program where it's not just, oh, I'm going to go hit this machine and this machine and again throwing darts hoping for the best. If someone comes to me and they say, hey, this is what I want, I will deliver on that. Like, if you do these things here, if I need you to do this, how often I need to see you, these are the results you can expect. That's a fact, and that's, to be honest, why I came back into the gym world. I love it because it's black and white. I love the yes or no nature of the gym. You can move this weight or you can't. You can run this fast or you can't. Your heart rate can recover this quickly or it can't. Right, and then there's processes and systems in place. That's what we do to make those things happen. That's what's so cool about it. It's non-negotiable, right?
And you know, if I was in any other facility besides your style of performance center or
Mhm.
gym, to get any kind of program like that is an additional cost.
And
So
that's the next piece of it, right?
so
Yeah.
there's that. So like if I'm new to your place and I'm thinking about joining, and maybe I'm somewhere, maybe I'm not,
Right.
what's pretty reasonable? What's the minimal amount of times for me to have some form of results? And
Mhm.
those results could be anything, again, gains, losses, and anything in between.
Sure.
How many times do I need to come in, to your place to see any kind of result?
Well, let's throw into the mix of like gains, losses, and results, right? Let's throw into that mix of just health, better sleep, um, uh, better, emotional state, right? Whatever it might be, right? Like stress management, all those things. I think throw all those pieces into it. I think minimally, I think if someone can get in, this is also assuming that they're having a decent sleep patterns, decent eating patterns, and whatnot, right? They're not abusing uh, drugs, alcohol, food, in crazy excess. Doesn't mean that they can't do their thing, but assuming all those, I think once, twice a week, they start to have an impact. Um, but ideally, I love to try to see people 2 or 3 times a week, uh, and then usually that starts kind of the rhythm of it, right? And that wave where they start to get they start seeing it, they start feeling it, like, wow, I feel different, my shoulder feels better, it doesn't hurt as much, or my hip feels better, it doesn't hurt as much, whatever. um, I feel stronger, I have better energy through the day, and I'm sleeping better at night. That's those are great, right? And those are all signs, and what we really try to focus on is, how do you feel? Not so much what's the scale say or this or that, like, it's because the scale is a tool, but it's not always the appropriate tool, right? Or it's one of many.
Mhm.
It might move, it might not, but maybe your clothes are fitting different. Maybe so your body mass changes, right? You're increasing muscle mass, your bone density is improving. All those things factor in. And the bottom line that we often, the thing that we always forget about, right, until we get a little bit older, it seems like, is our health, right? Like we don't think about our health until we're impacted by it. We have an injury, we get sick, we need a doctor. That like, we're not just going out and hanging out at the hospital. I don't know anyone who does that, right?
Right.
No one just goes to the doctor like perfectly healthy hanging out. They don't. Um, and they might have the best doctor in the planet and the nicest person and funny and all these other things, but they're not hanging out and spending their time there. We go when there's something wrong, right? So those are the hidden pieces that the gym, healthy lifestyle, food, all those things that you're doing, they add up and they help you lead and live a more productive life, right? So to answer your question, I think assuming everything else is decent, and even if we go back to more the vanity pieces of losing weight or gaining muscle, twice a week, 2, 3 times a week, fantastic. They'll
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I mean, I could say certainly because I've been in the place, that certainly seems like a legit, correct answer, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But obviously, I'm looking for your take, right? Because you're the coach, you're the owner. So,
Right.
uh,
Well,
uh,
I'll tell you personally. I mean, I train during quarantine time. I'm able to train a little bit more than what I normally train, right? Which is
sure.
nice. But I I try to do some type of cardiovascular work 3 days a week, and I like that I'm more focused. Whether it be steady state cardio or work or whatever it is. Uh, and then the other 3 days of the week, I try to get a lift in, right? And so currently, I have a 3 day split where I have a upper body push day, an upper body pull day, and then I have a total body hybrid day that I personally am applying right now, just to keep things rolling and going. Nothing crazy. I'm not going, and I'm kind of in just more of an acclimation phase, to be honest, right? And I don't want to hit the weight room too hard because I am trying to get some of my cardiovascular work in, some of my jogging and running work in that I want to get back into. Um, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm having success with that for sure, right?
Yeah.
So
So, do you find like, because I mean, it doesn't matter what the field is, what the profession is, we're
mhm,
all experts. The Google tells us everything.
right,
Do you find it challenging because there's so much out there? There's so many sites. There's so many magazines. I mean, whether it's virtual or a hard print that
right.
tells you all these things, and then I come in and Ken says, do this, and I go like, well, I heard that's bad for your back, and it's like your latissimus dorsi, and you're like, dude, spell latissimus dorsi, but like,
Right.
you know, how often does that really happen? Because I don't see it happen, but I'm only there for
It
my
doesn't
company.
happen too often, but the way I look at it is it's awesome. I love it because it puts a smile on my face, right? Someone wants to. It's just it puts a smile on my face, right? I love it.
Yeah,
But the part that's great is I don't have all the answers, man.
yeah,
And that's what's so great about it is that someone comes up with a question about something and it might be asinine, and I might want to bet my house on it, right? But it's I'm like, well, maybe I'll look into this, and maybe it gets the wheel spinning some other way. I mean, I try to look at things that way. I don't have all the answers, so I like it, right? I love this world we live in. The scary part about the internet, or I mean, do magazines even exist anymore? Like,
they do. I
okay,
used to do this thing that's called flying, and I would do it a couple times a year, and I don't know
right.
if it's going to exist anymore. But when you go to do that, they
Mhm.
sell magazines, and on the airplane, unless you pay lots of money to have internet, you have
Okay.
to read them. So and so like the men's health and men's
Yeah,
fitness and
fair
all
enough.
those, and now they're like women's health, women's fitness, all that stuff.
Right,
So yeah,
right,
they
right.
definitely are out there. Yeah.
All right, so there still exists. All right. Well, I mean, it's my memory magazines and a lot of those things where there might be a small piece of something that's like, oh, that's really cool. You have to know what you're looking at. You have to know what the source is. You have to know where it's coming from. Is there an agenda? What's missing from this equation, right? I mean, the classic ones were the bodybuilder magazines where so and so, Mr. Olympia, follow his workout. Here it is, and
Mhm.
um, maybe right. I remember reading those articles and looking through it and thinking, that's it, or it's just this, or is there anything missing? And even if all that's there, oftentimes what they negate to tell you is what the daily regimen is of, what the sleep patterns are, what the regimen of food is, right? What the drug regimen might be for that individual, right? Without pointing
Sure.
fingers. Um, and the amount of money they're spending on those things and how their entire life is dedicated to that. And, so typically there's like some missing pieces, right? But it's, I don't know. No, I think the internet has helped in a lot of ways because it throws ideas out. Whether it's it could be something like that's absolutely ridiculous, right? And maybe it's good for a laugh, or maybe this absolutely ridiculous thing, maybe that person was on to something. Like maybe there's a piece of it that's like that's a unique way of accomplishing this, or is it worthwhile to explore? Usually it's not, but it could be, right? So I like that. I go online, I look at things, get ideas, look to see what other people are doing. I think the big thing is you have to look at the benefit of it, and you look for people who are well respected and who know their craft and are in it for the right intentions, and look at what they're doing, and not just necessarily take big bites of what they're putting out there, but just maybe take a small bite, or like, oh, this is interesting enough, I'm going to take this in, process it, and maybe I'll use it. Maybe I can take this and make it better. And so I like that. But I don't have a ton of people coming up to me saying, I read this or I did this or whatever. And usually it's, I don't know, it might be somebody who read some article about creatine 30 years ago or whatever, and talking about how it's going to worse than steroids or whatever. Like, I mean, I might get something like that. But,
Yeah.
and then we have a smile and we have a conversation.
Yeah.
So,
So you've been home. We've all pretty much been home. Has there been anything kind of funny or good that's happened since that's been the case? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit professionally, well,
mm,
personally. I mean, like I'll give you an example,
yeah.
and then this one actually is thanks to you and your son. My wife now is an avid Just Dance 2020
Huh?
person. And actually, this actually is really full circle because she's using it somewhat for some fitness because she's
Right.
not going to the gym.
I
So
love it.
she'll do like 20 minutes straight, like dance, 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 dance. And she's got her Apple Watch on and counting her calories and stuff like that. So,
Right.
so that's kind of like a thing that happened strictly because of quarantine.
Right.
So, do you have anything? And if not, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Man, the one that comes to mind is I do have one. I probably have a few, but one comes to mind. My son, him, Sean, he is up north. He is stuck in this quarantine right now with grandma and grandpa up in Marquette, right?
Okay.
As a safety precaution. Um, Lesser cases, all that kind of stuff, right? So he's up there, and uh, it's difficult, obviously, being away from him right now. But we'll check in with each other, and life's good. But the hard part for him is lack of, he doesn't have the gym right across the street, right, that he can go to anymore. And they're obviously under a mandated lockdown as well, so gyms are closed. Everything's the same, right? And I I suggested that maybe he find an axe, put some snowshoes on, and chop down a tree. Uh, and that's what he's been doing on a regular basis up there, to get his workout on. So
So he's
he's,
doing the Rocky Four workout.
he's doing the Rocky Four workout, right?
Very
So
nice.
I'll have to
Well, it
get
took
some
down the
pictures and
Russians,
video and send you
so
that. Huh?
I say it took down the Russians. So,
Hey, it
um,
worked for him, right? It worked for Rocky. Took down Ivan. So
yeah, so it should work
yeah,
for anyone. You
hmm
know, I mean,
yeah.
Ivan
So I was.
easily had a 10 inch, reach advantage and probably 100 pounds. So,
Well,
uh,
the funny part on one of these trees is apparently there may be it may have been on a different property line, so one of the neighbors may have lost a tree or something. I can't confirm or deny that, but thankfully they live in a pretty wide open area. So
yeah, one of the 3,000 trees is now missing.
yes,
They might
I
not miss it.
hopefully it won't be missed. So,
Yeah,
but and then
awesome.
he is upset because his axe broke, so he needs a new axe. But
he can whittle a new handle out of the wood. So
exactly.
uh, actually, so one more. So my son, my oldest, who's only 10, he's like, "Do we have a pocket knife?" And I actually had like an old one, kind of like from like Lowe's or something, like their
Okay.
brand. And he's been out in the back taking like sticks and he's like making spears and stuff like that. So, it's like there's a lot of things that suck right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of them, especially the financial pieces. Clearly, we're not talking about the health side of things, and
Right.
people that we might know. But one of the things that doesn't suck is some of this stuff. Some
Yeah.
of the like doing things old school, my kid being creative, you know, going out and making spears out of sticks,
Right.
something that like kids do, but they don't do now because they don't need to. And he's still playing Fortnite too, so it's
Right.
not like those things don't exist. It's just that you can only do so much of so much. So kind of
Yeah.
funny, definitely, to hear that your 16-year-old's chopping wood and my 10-year-old's whittling.
Right.
They're getting ready for like the Hunger Games or something. I
Hey,
think
you never know. Yeah, absolutely.
so.
Well,
It might be the next pandemic.
I know he's mandated. I think he has to get 100 or 750 pull-ups in by his wrestling coach. Mandated 750 pull-ups by might be today, tomorrow, maybe it's by the end of the week. I can't remember, but um, he doesn't have a pull-up bar, so he has to. He's been charged with the notion of overcome and adapt. So he's searching for a sturdy tree branch that he can hang on to and get after it. So yeah,
Nice.
getting back to the roots,
Well,
man.
and people don't know that Ken's son is like 6'1" and 225 pounds. So that has to be like a significant branch. We're not talking about just your
Yes.
run of the mill tree here. Um, Ken, I should have asked at the beginning, so I'll
Yeah.
definitely ask at the end. Um, what's your Facebook and Instagram profile? So if somebody's like, "Wow, that sounds cool. Like, I'd like to
Okay.
see more. What's those videos that you've got? How are we gonna find you?"
Let's see. Instagram is at Root Wixom. So
Okay.
Root Wixom. And man, Facebook, you're
You think
killing
it's
me. I
Root
think it's
Performance?
at Root Performance or
Oh,
it's Root Performance Systems. I know that. If you type that in, that'll work. So Root Performance Systems will get you there. I don't know what my call sign is,
yeah,
if
fair
that's what they
enough.
call it.
We Google it or search it, I should say, on
Right.
Facebook. We'll find it. Root Performance Systems.
I
Um,
do know our website is rootps.com. So
okay, perfect.
we got that one
And
down.
and are you putting those same videos? Are they going? Where else are they going? Anywhere right now other than social?
Right now, they're on YouTube and Facebook or whatever, and then obviously our clients have access to full range that along with the training content with the sheets that come with it, with all the videos. But uh, yeah, currently it's on Facebook and via YouTube, and then we'll start adding some more to Instagram and some of those places as well.
Sure. Well, I'll be sure, obviously, to tag the YouTube,
All right,
channel when I have this on our YouTube channel. So,
beautiful.
so people will be able to find it that way. I'll let you go here, but do you have anything that you need to or want to say, before we sign off, so to speak?
Man, I had a great time. I appreciate you having me on. I think the only beef I have with you is I found out that I'm not your number one guest. So the
That's
fact that I
right.
wasn't your first guest, man, we're gonna have an issue. But other than that, I'm
Well,
good.
you can only be number one once, so I can't make that up to you. So, other than that, I definitely appreciate you coming on for sure
Oh,
and
for
get
sure.
a different perspective, because I talk a lot with realtors and brokers and mortgage people, and it's good to talk to other business too. So I know yours is empty. I saved just enough spit in mind to say cheers, thanks again, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds good, brother. All right, thanks for having me.